Hello, Gemini. Welcome to Ula Tea Leaf Readings. My name is Lenor, and tonight I'm going to be reading your tea leaves. Let's get started. And so tonight, to go along with your tea leaves, we have the energy of the Four of Cups, which has everything to do with luxury, really. An abundance of success, monetary gain, resources flowing your way. But also, this is very much about your emotional state. Okay, we have the cups, and the cups are the sacred waters. These are the things that we pour into our lives and they begin to grow. If we pour too much, it maybe will flood everything, and then it becomes waterlogged and rotten and falls apart. It's very corrosive. If we don't pour in enough, it becomes dry and arid. Doesn't grow. It just kind of dissipates into dust. But if we have the right amount, right? And that's what the Four of Cups is all about. It is supremely well, okay? So let's go ahead. We're going to knock on this tea bowl. It's not really a cup. It's actually a little bowl. We're going to see what the tea leaves have to say and how they interact with this energy of the Four of Cups. All right. And also, I want to say thank you so much for deciding to check out this reading. If you've ever seen a tea leaf reading before, I'm just going to say right off the bat that I do things a little bit different. My technique is a little different. I've done thousands of readings at this point, and I've had to make it my own, really, right? If you do something every day, multiple times a day, for hours a day, of course you're going to start to have your own relationship with the thing. So don't expect all of the symbols to have the prescribed meanings, but we will talk about what the things mean, okay? And if you are returning to the channel, I want to say thank you. Welcome back. Welcome back. It's so nice to see you. All right, so I am of the belief here that you come from a family of seers. And why do I say that? Well, I want to start, let's see. So we have a person up here sitting, okay? You can see this head, its side profile. Here's the body sitting, looking over, and it looks like kind of a wheel, right, of things. It reminds me of the seasons, being able to see and kind of prophesize what might happen here, right? Now, this might be magic. This might be really just a deep understanding and a highly perceptive person. But I do feel like one of the people that you are related to, who is probably an elder, maybe an ancestor, they are somebody who really can predict maybe like the weather patterns, the movements of animals, and especially the growing season. Now, I know a lot of us live very detached from these kinds of things. Unless you are like myself, I'm very into gardening. I live out in the middle of nowhere, in between cornfields. So I'm living kind of an outsider's lifestyle, right, compared to the majority. But even if you live in the city, you maybe have like a succulent on the windowsill, or whatever, you feel like maybe my family isn't involved in farming or anything like this. Somewhere along the line they were. Somewhere somebody was growing stuff. And this maybe is many generations detached, but I do feel like there is this very deep elemental connection, and you retain this energy, okay? Now, next to, we have a person standing looking up at the moon. You can see, okay? So a family very much ruled by the lunar energy. So I'm going to guess here that this is on the mother's side, right? Your mother, your mother's mother, your mother's mother's mother, you know, all the way down that line, okay? We also have the number 8. It looks like an 8 and possibly a 7, okay? So we have 8 and 7, 78. Okay, now I also want to look over here because, and where did you go? I saw you just a few minutes ago. Okay, here we go. So we also have a person and it looks like they are holding, I almost imagine like a Disney princess with the little crown and the long hair and the little dress and, you know, very much the maiden. Now over here we have, it looks like the witch or the crone or the magical practitioner. We have the body, we have the head, the long face that looks kind of elongated, but we also have behind, it looks like the broom, okay? We also have the number 102, okay? 102. Now, we also have the snake right here who is coiled, and this is a sign of deep knowledge, okay? Deep knowledge, even if it is knowledge that was gained at a price, okay? So I feel that you really, really do come from this line of practitioners. I feel that maybe you are coming out of that middle section of life, right? Maybe arriving into it, maybe coming out of it. Depends on like what your development has been like throughout your this manifestation cycle. But I do feel like you really maybe were somebody who, I don't want to say you were just naive, but I do feel like maybe kind of utopian thinking. Maybe you always look for the best in people, and if they let you down, then that's when you can start, you know, seeing like, well, maybe this isn't the most forthright person. Maybe this isn't like the, you know, most kind person. Maybe this person has nobody's interest in mind except for their own, you know. But I do feel, like as you have started to come out of that kind of younger, and let's face it, don't we all wish we could stay in that mind state? Like everything's cool. People are just people. We're all trying our best. And listen, I try to tell myself this every day. But you know what? We've all seen so much, right? And we've known so many people. We've been through a lot of ordeals, and we know that not everything is that simple, right? And although like we all want to refrain from becoming too cynical about the world, the older you get, the more you've seen, the more that you have, you know, been witness to, that you have maybe even been dragged into situations and so on, you know? So I feel you really coming out of this kind of, you know, Disney princessy imagery. Now, you might not even be a woman, right? And you're saying, Lenor, I'm not a woman. Lenor, I'm still very young. Lenor, I'm, you know, I never felt like a Disney princess or whatever. It's not about that really so much as being this kind of wide-eyed, naive, it's not gullible, but trusting to a fault even, right? And so I do feel like you have come out of this. You are starting to really understand the undercurrents of the world a little bit more. And I think that for you, this is not something that has left you jaded or like, you know, an angry person. But you're not no punk, right? You're not going to be ran through or, you know, pushed around, bullied. Of course not. But I do feel like this has opened the door for you to kind of really tap into that lunar energy we were talking about. And I feel like this is very natural for you because you come from a line of practitioners who are aligned with the moon. Now, I won't be gross. I won't get into vivid detail. But if you are somebody who, I don't know if I'm allowed to say this on, it's terrible that I don't even know, or that it's even a question. But if you are somebody who has like, who has ever menstruated in your life, right? Definitely, if you knew this or not, and I'm sure you did, very aligned with the moon cycles, okay? I particularly, myself, very much about the new moon versus the full moon. I've always been, and now it has flip-flopped from time to time, especially when I had my daughter and everything was, you know, your hormones are all different and wild and stuff. But yes, aligned with the moon in this very overt way, right? In this like stereotypical, you know, kind of symbolic connection, you know, that we all kind of think of when we think of the moon and this, and the goddess and the ebb and flow and, you know, all that stuff. So I feel you going into maybe some of the parts of yourself that are very much related to the shadow. Okay. Now, if you're not familiar with Jung, right, or this idea of the shadow self, the shadow is a part of ourselves or an archetypal part of self that exists because we have, you know, shame, basically, or it's where we hide the things that we don't want people to see, or we hope that they won't see. This is where we put the things that we cannot admit about ourselves, right? This is where we put the things, not even just about ourselves, about the world, right? That we don't want to look at. The stuff that we probably already know, but we can't begin to talk about it, right? So we shove it into this place, and it's like mold. I always think of it this way. It's like mold. You put it in a dark, damp place, and you just let it go because you don't want to get involved in there. You don't want to process that stuff. And it grows, and it grows, and it grows. And guess what? We feel like, okay, I'm hiding this part of myself. Nobody can see it. But with anybody that has eyes to see, this is the most glaring part of who we are. You know, we've all met people that have things that they think that they are hiding, right? Things that they don't want anybody to know about them. And, you know, even it might be so obvious that you just take it for granted that, oh, this person might, you know, everybody knows. So, of course, they know everybody knows, right? Well, not always the case. Sometimes people have no idea that this is perceivable about them. They might not even perceive it. Okay? So, it can grow out of control. It can become its own monster. And we can go on to talk about tulpas and you know, these thought forms kind of manifesting in the physical world, even like things like poltergeist activity, which is all really interrelated with this idea of the shadow. Okay? But it's not to say it's all bad, right? These are useful parts of self. These are things that want to be seen and known. Now, if one of these, I'm going to use just like an example of something that, well, look, most of us would say, like, say you have like a proclivity for violence, right? That's very simple. Most of us do at some point, right? You get somebody to some level of emotions and emotionality and frustration and, or, you know, whatever triggers that part of self. And yeah, we all have this attachment to some kind of violence. And that's because, right, it's related usually to protecting ourselves. Now, you might be somebody, though, who grew up in an environment where there was there was violence, or maybe the imagery of violence, or even the themes of it, or, you know, whatever this is, whatever it is, okay? And you don't want people to know that. You don't want to share that. You don't even like the idea of it, but it's there. So you shove it down. You do everything you can to stay away from violent imagery. You don't watch the movies. You don't play the video games. You don't like looking at artwork like that. It makes you upset. You don't want to hear about it in the world. And yet, it is growing within you. And then one afternoon, right? And this is an example. You're like driving home from work and somebody cuts you off and you just absolutely lose it. It all comes out. And you're not the same, right? It just keeps flooding out of you. And you can't even believe it. You can't even believe the things you said, the things you did, the things that you felt. You can't believe it. And so we have a choice, right? Well, let's not talk about the shadow work so much, but I do feel like this can be useful, especially with sublimation. Okay, sublimation is the act of taking that shadow stuff and putting it into something like artwork. So maybe you're like, you know, a black metal musician and you have all of this, and you don't want to play it out in your regular life. So you put it into your music. You make something useful with it. Now, this can be applied to our development as well. Coming into that which we belong to. And to me, it's all about the activation of your magic here. And that's what really feels like is going on. You are coming into your abilities to see, clairvoyance, maybe mediumship, channeling, divination, but also your ability to use the things that you feel and see and know to enact change in your world. Now, it might be the physical, it might be the interior, it might be both. Okay? But I feel like this cycle of time is all about you coming into this power. It might be something that is off-putting. You might at times even feel like, what? You're going crazy. That's what I hear the most from people. I don't know what is going on with me. Now, we're all about the magic here. We're all about the beautiful symbols and, you know, experiences of the universe, the magic, the divination, the, you know, really, really being plugged in. But we're also very much about wellness. So if you do start to feel like something isn't right, maybe you're hearing things, seeing things, whatever. Maybe you are thinking about things you've never thought about before. Maybe you are having like intrusive thoughts and that kind of thing. Please make sure that you're communicating with your trusted support people. Also, I am all about the therapies. Whatever, if it's talk therapy or some other kind of modality, psychiatry, psychotherapy, whatever. If you have access and you feel like you need these resources, definitely use them, okay? Now, magic is there's a fine line, right? Between our mental health and the unknown. They're not separate. It gets very blurry in there. And that's part of the path of the magician, right? The path of the especially natural seer, practitioner, somebody who is blessed with abilities that are, you know, strong, right? it can easily feel like you're losing touch with reality. It can easily distract you from your waking life, from doing the things that you need to do, right? Work, pay bills, take care of yourself, take care of the family, all the things that we have to do to keep ourselves well and, going forward. So, taking care of yourself, big deal here. Making sure that you're checking in with people. Making sure that if it gets to be too much, that you're not just succumbing to that, okay? Now, we also have a skunk right here, and it looks like it's spraying. I'm just going to say that. Here's the head, here's the tail poofed up, and the spray. We also have a horse and another snake, and it looks like the horse is stomping on the snake. So, I do believe that there's going to be a little bit of pushback from somebody. I don't think it's like everybody, but I think there's at least one person in your close life, in your family life, likely that I just feel like very judgmental. Very judgmental. And probably coming from a place of concern, maybe they're very religious and, it's kind of like, I don't want to see you going down that road, and it's evil and, this kind of thing. And I feel like for the most part, you're usually pretty good at letting it just kind of roll off your back. And you're like, okay, thank you, but no thank you, But I feel like in this case, it almost just feels like it's, like getting sprayed by a skunk, right? Like that energy just absolutely is revolting to you in this moment because it does feel so judgmental, because it does feel like you're being singled out. Like, you are coming into this place in your life where you're starting to really evolve and feel confident and powerful. And this person who, is supposed to love you and support you has things to say that are not really that supportive. And in fact, can feel kind of like they're attacking you, they're judging you. They're marking you, right? And so, I feel like, and we have the horse. The horse is all about making change. I feel like it is. It's really about setting some boundaries for yourself. And, letting it be known. I do not want any input about what I'm doing or what I believe or, I don't need to tell you about what I'm feeling or believing or experiencing or whatever. And you don't have to share that with me. Right? We agree to disagree. We'll hold each other in respect and reverence and love. But, we're just going to we're on different waves. And that's okay. Now, if they're not receptive to letting it go, then, that's where we have to talk about some boundaries, right? Think about maybe making some space, a little distance. Because I feel like it really is part of the ordeal of coming into a new archetype of self, to really beginning to shine and evolve as a person. There's going to be conflict, right? We don't just start to flourish and nothing happens, unfortunately, right? There will be ordeals, and oftentimes the people we love are going to be the vessels of those ordeals in some way or another. And so really fortifying self, reminding yourself this is part of the journey. This is kind of what happens. It happens to a lot of us. but also knowing your well-being, your growth, your healing, that is the most important thing here. Okay, let's take a look. We also have the number 17. We have a boat and we have 2 people coming to visit. It looks like you're going to have 2 visitors. And I feel like maybe some travel. Maybe a little bit of travel coming up for you. Now we also have the number 80, 80, and the letter J. And the letter J. So maybe somebody with a J name coming to visit. But I do feel like somebody coming to stay in your home. And I think probably 2 people. I know, it drives me nuts. I'm like, I wish I could just keep all of these little tea leaves from getting in between. They get in between the lacy stuff and the tablecloth beneath. And it just drives me nuts. So forgive me. All right, let's go ahead. We're going to do our 3 lucky numbers. 25. Ooh, number 25. 76. 25, 76, and something in the 30s. Nope. 41. I'm never good at guessing the numbers. 41. All right. Gemini, I'm going to go ahead and tell you I love you because I do, and I thank you so much for spending this time with me. I forgot we're going to do our self-care affirmation cards. Let me do that first, and I'm going to say goodbye. I know. I'm all over the place here today. It's so nice outside. I can't wait to get back outside. That's really what's going on here. It's like, usually this time of year, it's maybe like, I don't know, 15 degrees most days. Maybe up to like 25. Today, it's 50 degrees, which is so weird. And I want to go outside. I want to go bask in the sun for a few minutes. Okay, so we have a worthy heart. I have a voice. My needs are valuable. I express what I think and feel. I allow others to care for me. My heart is worthy of care and attention. My heart is worthy of care and attention. Absolutely. All right, now, Gemini. I love you, I love you, I love you. Thank you so much for spending this time with me. If you want to like, subscribe, leave a comment, I want to hear from you. Other than that, I just want to say, wash your hands. There's lots of stuff going around. Take care of yourself. We just started the new lunar year. We're in the year of the wood serpent, the snake, a wooden snake. Sounds kind of powerful, I think. I keep thinking of, now they weren't wood, but they were these little plastic snakes, and they had they were like attached where you could go like this and they go, I don't know what they were called, just, I don't know, snakes. But I keep thinking it's the year of that like plastic toy snake, which is terrible, but I don't know. I have to read more about what the wooden snake means. If you have any insights, please drop it in the comments. Let me know. Other than that, again, I want to say I love you. Let's make this year a great year. I know that we will. It's going to be, against all odds, it's going to be good. And yeah, I love you. Good night.